Well, the flip has gone down after some terrible gameplay by the Pentagon. Let's go over it all now. I'm recording this during the fallout of the eviction of poor old Cedric. I did enjoy Cedric, but he did this to himself. Cedric screwed Cedric. I have really tried to feel sad about the situation because I do like Cedric, but like I go back to last week to where he went way out of his way to save Quinn, who was never good for his game and never really protecting Cedric at any point. But as HOH, he stuck his neck out that far, and then this week he volunteers on the block, knowing pawns go home, thinking he's Tucker, and he's not. And he really choked in the AI arena, and now he got voted out. So Cedric did a lot of this to himself. And last thing I'll say about Cedric and his stands, or the Pentagon stands I've seen, or the Cedric Cam Chelsea stands I've seen, doing complaining about the AI arena. I saw some people really trying to say that this competition was like unfair, and if Tucker was in it, it wouldn't have been like this. While I do think production wants Tucker to stick around, last week's competition was also a crapshoot. It's just that Tucker had the best strategy to collect as many balls before putting them in the thing. This competition was also a crapshoot. That's why it literally came down to the last second. Cedric just choked the most in that competition. So I don't want to hear all that. There's just a lot of whining going on, and I don't really understand why this go round. The Pentagon really screwed the pooch this week. It really started with some of the people in the Pentagon thinking they just had it so easy, and it's so early in the game, and I guess this is Big Brother. We've had like a decade where big alliances dominate, but in recent seasons it's slowly, finally starting to change, where people will try and flip things around sometimes. So in other games like Survivor, when you're feeling too comfortable, something's probably wrong. You're probably having this big target on your back and you might get blindsided. That's what happened to the Pentagon here. Brooklyn and Chelsea, especially, were feeling way overconfident with their position. And it's why their games have now faltered so much. And last night, when there was discussion between those two and Cam about maybe, even if it's Rubina and MJ on the block, they still vote out Rubina. That is where they completely went wrong and completely flipped T-Core to the other side. They're trying to dictate who people who already are starting to feel like they're on the bottom of the alliance, trying to dictate that their own friend should go home over someone like MJ, who's close to nobody, was stupid. Brooklyn bringing that up to T-Core was stupid. And there's a lot to say about Brooklyn's game. It's up in smoke, and I love to see it because I can't stand her. Yeah, her telling Rubina before the vote tonight that the votes aren't there to keep Rubina was so bad on Brooklyn's part. And now she looks dumb. Good for Brooklyn. She deserves this. She's been so cocky over the past few days. So what happens when you feel comfortable? And Chelsea too. She knows she had a great 3.5 weeks as the best player in that house. And while I do think Chelsea has the capability to turn things around for herself, hitching herself to Brooklyn was a big mistake. Because now those two are a big target as a duo going ahead. So, yeah. I'm sorry, Pentagon fans or Triple C fans or Cedric fans, but they did this to themselves. There was some really bad, sloppy gameplay this week from all involved in that situation. The flip itself, it's good to see Leah and MJ play a little here. Last night I talked about Joseph and how he was looking the best as a floater. Tonight he had to pick a side, and he had to decide as a super fan that he had to go with the majority here. He's going to have a harder time being a floater now. I think he exposed himself too much. That's why, in general, the flip was not actually good for Joseph, like I discussed last night. I do think this hurts Joseph's game because he was doing really good as a floater. And now we have to see how he does as choosing more sides. So last night, Joseph's game was looking up for me. Tonight, it's going back down. Where T-Core and Chemo are concerned, of course, Chelsea and Brooklyn are upset with them, trying to say they're only upset because they were not included in the vote, and they would have voted that way, and they wouldn't have. They would have definitely tried to make sure the vote stayed the same. Had they not known about the flip sooner, apparently they kind of realized it like 30 seconds before the vote, T-Core toward Chelsea, that she was thinking about keeping Rubina. I don't know. It's sour grapes from Chelsea and Brooklyn. Welcome to Big Brother. The vote flipped. You weren't in on it because y'all were being so cocky last night, trying to say, maybe we should vote out Rubina over MJ. That was just bad. That was people at the top of the alliance feeling like they have way too much safety, way too much power, and trying to be a dictator. Dumb. Very dumb. And I'm glad Chemo and T-Core played their own game here. And like I said last night, this was the best vote for both of their games. I still say that if it was MJ and Cedric on the block, for T-Core's game, she should not have voted Cedric out. But in this case, voting out Cedric over Rubina, definitely the right decision. Because that is T-Core and Chemo trying to keep a number for themselves, even though, yeah, she's close to Tucker too, and Tucker's going to be a problem down the line, and we'll see what happens there. But them now keeping Rubina is definitely a number for them rather than them just being a number being dictated for somebody else. So they deserve credit. They were the main aspect of this flip. But now they do have to feel the heat, and they are feeling the heat. Chelsea and Cam not really talking to T-Core. She's feeling a little sad about it here on the feeds before we get to the competition tonight. I'm recording this before the competition. I'll have to talk about the new HOH and their plans tomorrow. Angela was also a very big winner this week. I feel like finally some heat might be off of Angela for the next week. But I don't know, she's such an easy person to put on the block, especially since it seems like the AI arena is still going to be a thing. So if somebody that isn't, well, if somebody that's Brooklyn, Chelsea, or Cam win the competition, then Angela might still find herself on the block, honestly. Quinn didn't have to have blood on his hands here because he couldn't vote. But I still think Quinn could be a big loser this week. He's been a big loser this entire game. But, like, if it gets exposed that he exposed the Pentagon, that's going to be bad news for Quinn. But I think it should just make the Pentagon feel dumb, feel dumber than they probably should already feel for the way they played over the past few days. Because they, with Cedric, went so far out of their way to save Quinn last week. And look at them now. And Quinn's power here being used the way it was, such a huge waste of a very strong power. He gets out somebody that protected him last week, that Quinn didn't want to go this week, all with a secret HOH power. Just bad gameplay from what was supposed to be the dominant alliance, and I love to see it because I hate dominant alliances, although this alliance was never dominant. It's been fractured. It was never a real thing. It just kind of came together because Cedric made it come together last week. You know, Cedric got what he deserved. I'm sorry. Cedric went so out of his way as HOH last week to save Quinn, try and make this alliance be a thing, and it completely backfired. He did this to himself for sure. As things stand, we'll see who wins the wall. Tucker's been doing so much stretching this week trying to win it. It would be nice to see a Tucker HOH. But I'm getting a little sick of Tucker. We'll see what happens. You know, now that people are kind of finally playing their own game, Tucker's bad gameplay is going to start getting on my nerves more and more, I believe. But we'll see what happens. And last thing I want to say is, I'm sorry, Rubina sucks. Watching her not even really fight for herself this week, not really fight for herself before the vote when Cedric's fighting for himself, is really pissing me off. MJ, at least after this vote here, when the feeds came back on, was trying to play different sides. I'm finally starting to see MJ as a player. But Rubina and Leah give me something. There is no gameplay from these two. I'm sick of watching them have no gameplay. So, yeah, I hope I see more from them because Rubina didn't even play a small part in this own flip to save her. And Leah played a part because she was the easiest vote to flip because she doesn't even realize there's all these alliances going on when she's been in the game for 4 weeks now. Of course there's alliances going on. Do something about it. That's all I got for tonight. I will talk more tomorrow once we have a new HOH.